To kind of talk about like the future of Biden as you got into. Last time we talked, we talked a little bit about like the prospect of maybe a war of domestic terrorism here. What's the likelihood of that? Like, are you
Well,
seeing it?
you know, I don't know, man. And the Democrats are trying to make a lot of hay about this, but the truth is, the real radical right in America is very small.
Hmm.
And the radical right who are willing to commit acts of violence in order to further a revolution soon is infinitesimally small,
Yeah.
right? And if any of them have any brain cells to rub together at all, then they know that their friend who's always got the jackass ideas about something stupid they should do is a federal informant who's trying to entrap them and get them in trouble. So, in the 1990s, and don't get me wrong, I mean, this could be very dangerous. The new law the Democrats are trying to pass is it doesn't really add any new crimes, I don't think. The part I read just said they want to create new domestic terrorism divisions inside the FBI and Homeland Security.
Mm.
Well, what are they going to do, right? If there's no domestic terrorism, they got to create some.
Yeah.
Without them, why else do we need them? So they just have the perfect incentive. Even if they don't create some, they have the perfect incentive to let a few through in order to solidify their bureaucratic interest and, for the future and all that. So we see how they do with Muslims. Never mind the 1990s. Let's just stick to the Bush era and Obama era. We've had more than 350, maybe it was 500 something. Trevor Aaronson's the expert on this. There's something like 350 outright entrapment job stings, right? Where some guy infiltrates some small group of Muslims who are almost always poor and desperate and uneducated, kind of fatherless idiots, right? And then the informant says, don't you terribly and desperately need money to pay for your grandma's operation? And they go, yeah. And they go, and don't you hate American war crimes in the Middle East? And they go, yeah. And then they go, okay, say you love Osama into the microphone, dumb kid. And the kid goes, yeah, I love Osama. Okay, blam, life in prison, terrorist conspiracy, all of this stuff. The guy promised me $25,000 if I just say I loved Osama. It's all just an entrapment. They do this over and over and over again. So we'll see that, right, where they entrap some idiot into saying the wrong thing and then they can pretend that there was a real plot there. But then we can also see real plots unfold. We saw um, in Obama years, we saw the FBI entrap a kid into attacking the Mohammed cartoon contest in Garland, Texas. I forgot what year this was. It's in the book. It's 2014 or 15, I think. Um, and what happened was an FBI agent, not just an informant, asset or something, but an actual FBI agent was the provocateur who recruited this kid and told him, tear up Texas, get it done. And the kid went to Texas and he showed up at Garland at the cartoon contest. He shows up and the cop that entrapped him is standing right there, but he's able to get off a shot and shoot an innocent security guard and wound him, luckily not kill him. And then it
Mhm.
was a local cop who pulled out his gun and killed the bad guy. While the FBI agent who got the local cop and the security guard, and in fact, the entire building full of civilians in there into this mess, sat there like an idiot while all of this happened right in front of him. And of course, he just got promoted or something, I'm sure, right? He's on a permanent vacation, getting paid with your tax money right now rather than rotting in the bottom of a prison somewhere for this. Um, but anyway, um, to go back to the 1990s and the war on the radical right, then, especially after Waco and the huge boom in the militia movement, the FBI launched an operation called PatCon, which meant Patriot. Ow, God dang, bit my cheek. Called PatCon, which meant Patriot Conspiracy, is what that stood for. And but the conspiracy wasn't the Patriots. The conspiracy was the FBI. And they went around infiltrating all these groups and trying to get them into trouble. And I'm telling you now, it's 99%. I'm not. There's a guy who's writing a book about this now that's going to really put it to bed once and for all. We have the archive of primary sources at
Mhm.
the Libertarian Institute, but it's 99%. I mean, this is the case. What happened was the PatCon operation resulted in the Oklahoma City bombing. It wasn't just that these guys did it. It was that the FBI created the kind of entire atmosphere in conjunction with this group of white supremacists to do this attack. And, you know, the Occam's razor explanation is that, well, they had essentially a bunch of informants and flip states witnesses who did this. And the FBI had to cover it up because they looked so bad that they should have had these men under control and under surveillance, and they didn't, and it happened under their nose, kind of thing. But the slightly more complicated and I think more realistic explanation is that their agent provocateur, Andre Karl Strassmeyer, who is a fake Nazi and not a real Nazi, that he was one of the primary forces in creating that plot and driving that plot forward to bomb that building. And that's why after it happened, they covered it all up and they let all of the guilty go free, and including the ridiculous hoax, especially look back at it now in hindsight, the hoax, oh yeah, no, there never was a John Doe 2. Yeah, all of those witnesses who thought that McVeigh had accomplices, they were all just smoking PCP, I guess, and have no idea. Oh, what? Every single eyeball witness who can put McVeigh at the scene of the crime in downtown Oklahoma City that morning, 24 witnesses, can't ever be called to testify because every single one of them saw him in the company of others. Yeah, that's a really, really bad one, man. It's part of what made me such an anti-government, you know, kind of a guy in the first place, because Waco was bad enough. But now you're telling me the revenge for Waco was essentially the same damn thing again? It was these same feds who, to one degree or another, Liam, were responsible for that attack. And it's just absolutely world record shattering cover up. It's just amazing. And so look, I mean, the FBI on their best day are a bunch of stupid meathead pigs. All they are criminals. They only care about themselves. They don't care about anyone else. FBI job one is protect the FBI. Well, how do you think those towers got knocked down? It's because these guys are a bunch of worthless jerk-offs. That's how, right? How could there have been Al-Qaeda, real ass Al-Qaeda in the country for a year and a half, whether CIA told them everything they knew or not? How could the FBI not know that? It's because they're the scum of the earth. That's why. It's because they're worthless. And so now put a bunch of guys like that in charge of preventing violence from white supremacists, Aryan nations, and Klansmen and whoever. You think they're going to make matters better, not worse? Chances are, you know, very strongly the other way. And I think word to the wise on the militia movement right. Your dumbest friend is not dumb. He's on the federal government's payroll, and you need to get rid of him.